Hello, and welcome to another episode of History Bluffs, where truth is stranger than fiction. I want to welcome to the stage your host, Chris. Welcome,
Hello,
Chris.
ladies and gentlemen. Welcome. Thank you to Adam Bellis, our amazing tech and the lead of our show. Adam does a phenomenal job week to week, keeping us on track. So, Adam, how are you, my friend? How are you doing?
I'm good. I'm doing good. We are recording now, of course, from Orlando, Florida, during the imminent arrival of the eye wall of Hurricane Ian.
Yes, indeed.
So I still have power and internet, so we're doing a show.
Knock on wood, yes. And I'm actually I'm in Macon, Georgia. I was driving.
You coward! You live 3 miles from me.
Yes, I had an obligation up in Tennessee, and when Orlando started to shut things down early on Tuesday, I decided to just get ahead of the storm, and I stopped in Macon to get a good signal for this show. So
my life choices were Guinness.
Yes. Well, welcome indeed, everyone. We are recording, as Adam said, this show, History Bluffs, the improvised game show where we find out that truth can be stranger than fiction. And the way that this show works, indeed, wrap it up, we have 3 amazing panelists for you tonight. And without further ado, I'm going to bring them up onto the screen and introduce them. And first, I'm going to bring in Charlie Down. Mr. Charlie Down, come on in, Charlie. Welcome. Charlie with his obligatory bourbon, little bourbon there for a good measure. How are you doing, my friend?
Doing great. Until everything comes down on us, we're going to do well.
All right. Yes, indeed. Next up, we're going to bring Alan Forbes to the Alan, come on in.
Hello.
Alan, how are you?
Hi. I'm doing quite well. I'm glad to be here.
Making out so far so good with the storm?
Sure am.
All right. Last but certainly not least, we're going to bring up Gina DeRoma Hunter.
Hi.
Hey, G.
Happy hurricane.
Happy hurricane indeed. How you doing out in your neck of the woods?
So far, so good. We don't have power, but I have a great generator.
Oh, there you go. All right, good deal.
Not really, not yet. I'm knocking on wood. That probably jinxed myself for the whole night.
Gina, I'm gonna start with you. I have a question for you, Gina. What is like a mammoth undertaking that you've admired, that someone did that you've admired?
Well, I would first of all say the hibernation that mammoths did on a yearly basis. I thought that's a big undertaking if you compare it to penguins. But no, I'm really impressed. I'm really impressed with what I will actually be talking about tonight. And the reason I say that is because when I begin to talk about it, I'm just fascinated by this because I can't imagine the pressure and the things that these women went through. So I was really, I feel very privileged to bring their story to life tonight.
All right, good, cool. Well, hold that thought. I'm going to bring Charlie up real quick. Charlie, can you tell us a time when you fooled someone?
Tonight. No,
Ooh.
I'm just joking. I've convinced a woman to marry me. And so
nice.
I'm going on 10 years almost, so it's working. Yeah.
Well done, my friend. Well done indeed. And then last, so let's get Alan up on screen. Alan, can you tell us about your favorite ugly sweater?
Favorite ugly sweater? Well, it's a sweater that I have by choice because it was requested as a Christmas gift. And it's one of those. First of all, I didn't grow up with ugly Christmas sweaters, so I want this ugly Christmas sweater, and it was a Christmas sweater in the style that has Optimus Prime on it,
nice.
And so it looks like he's got that old style design.
Love it, love that style. So the reason I asked about a mammoth, about fooling someone, and about a sweater is because tonight's topic is wool. WOOL, wool. So our 3 panelists, they have been informed prior to the show of the topic, so they've had time to do some research. Adam, if you would be so kind, let's bring up the rules so we can explain to the audience how this show works. Thank you. All right, so the historians are inspired by the topic. As we mentioned, the topic is wool. 2 of our 3 historians are going to tell truthful stories. They will be factual-based stories. And then one of our panelists is bluffing. We don't know. I don't know. Only Adam and the actual bluffer themselves know who the bluff is. That is right. So the bluff story is fictional, completely made up. They might have a couple of truthful nuggets in their stories, but their premise of their story is made up, and they are bluffing. And we ask the audience that's following along, please, no help. Don't look anything up and put it into the comments, because we will ask at the end for your opinion on who do you think is bluffing. So please hold that. If you do have the opportunity to look anything up, please hold those thoughts until the end when we ask for comments from the audience on who we think the bluff might be. So this show is done in 3 rounds. We have 3 panelists, and each of them will get 3 rounds to tell their story. The first round is 75 seconds long, and then the second round is reduced down to 60 seconds, and then the third and concluding round is reduced down to 45 seconds. So with that stuff in the books, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get right to it. Let's bring up our first panelist to start off tonight's story, inspired by wool. And Adam, I'm going to ask you to let us start with round number 1. Fantastic. All right. Charlie, we're going to start with you. If you can put your bourbon down for a second and tell us a story in 75 seconds. Begin when the clock comes up and you hear a boom.
Hi, I'm here to tell you the story of Klaus Tuber and Cyprus and the areas nearby. It's the late 80s. It's actually 1988 in July, when Klaus, who actually used to work as a printer, mainly printing some like political pamphlets and stuff, but he was also a historian. And he is fascinated by the island of Cyprus in the Mediterranean. So he goes down on a trip to Cyprus, and he visits the island. And while he's there, he's enjoying a good beer or 2 at the local pub. And one night he has a few too many, and he starts drawing on these beer coasters that they have. Now, their beer coasters are a little weird because they're hectagonal hexagons. So he starts drawing and then puts another hexagon next to it and starts drawing more things. And then by the end of the night, he's got this drawing of the island on these multiple hexagon tiles. And he's like, this gives me an idea for a board game.
Ooh, well done. I love it. Gina, what do you think of Charlie's story, especially the cocky ending where he just finishes with a little bit of time left, just stares confidently at the camera?
I hate that because I can never do that. But B, I love everything about this. It's got the late 80s, awesome, mystery, intrigue, beer, and coasters. Who doesn't love coasters? Space coaster? I mean, like, come on.
Yeah. All right. Good take.
I'm fascinated. I want to get to know more.
All right, and Alan. A game indeed, yes. Alan, what do you think of Klaus and his inability to suppress his obsession?
Well, I want to. Thank you. I want to acknowledge Gina's acknowledgement of my topic from the game titled Coaster when I talked about the Great Space Coaster. So thank you, Gina. Also, this sounds familiar. Charlie's got a much larger knowledge of board games than I do. So whatever is hexagonal and connecting it to each other, I'm not totally aware of the name of it as of yet, but I want to hear more. So I'm intrigued. I'm not calling him out yet. I don't know if it's a lie. I don't know.
More time. We'll have plenty of time for that. Alan, we're going to actually bring you back up to the main box here because we're going to have you tell us your opening round of your story. When you have the sundial clock come up and you hear the boom, you can begin round 1.
All right, my title is A Pile of Wool Sheep. Yes, wool, well, it comes from sheep, so there's that, but it's a very amazing fiber. It's got qualities that make it very unique amongst other natural fibers. But let's go into a bit of history. First of all, there are 1,000 distinct breeds of sheep in the world today. And it all started in the Middle East. So there's archaeological evidence about there being domesticated sheep between 11,000 and 8,000 BC. Yeah, in ancient Mesopotamia. These sheep were bred from the wild Mouflon region, where they were raised for their meat, skins, and milk. And small statues found in Iran were showing woolly sheep to have been dated around 6,000 BC, and it is assumed that it was around this time that sheep began to be raised and bred by Persians for their wool. And the earliest wool clothing was found dated between 4,000 and 3,000 BC. Now, trading wool was very profitable in Africa and Europe, and I'll get more into that in a bit.
All right, well done. You got a lot of information in there in that 75 seconds. Charlie, Charlie, this what do you? I want to ask you what you think of Alan's question, but first, it brings to mind a question that I have. What did the kinky sheep say about losing its hair? It was sheer enjoyment.
Oh.
No.
Okay, Daddy. I mean, sounds factual. Sheep. I mean, I know there's like a lot of sheep in New Zealand. That's like the fact I know about sheep. So,
okay.
Continue, Alan.
All right, factual start. Okay, Gina, what do you think of Alan's story?
I'm lining up his dates here, and so he's saying that sheep dated back in 6,000 BC, and then my by that math, that means they joined Tinder in 6001 BC, and then so that's the only thing that I think is factual so far.
Okay. All right, well, Gina,
just a wildest life with this little.
Yeah, you're using an abacus to do that math. Yes. Lock that away in your memory bank because we're going to have you stay in the big box, Gina.
Okay.
And we're going to have you tell us your first round story when the sundial clock comes up and you hear the boom.
Okay.
There you go.
I want to see the clock. Okay. My title of my story is called Wolf in Sheep's Clothing. I can also give you a lot of facts about where that phrase came from, but that's another show. There was a woman a long time ago. Her name was Elizabeth Van Loo, and she was a lady who lived in back in the Civil War, right before the Civil War. She lived in Richmond, Virginia, so she was part of the Confederacy. But she didn't want to be part of the Confederacy, but she lived on a big plantation that owned a lot of slaves. Well, when her father died, she and her mother were in agreement that they didn't want to own slaves anymore, so they released all of their slaves. They gave them their freedom. One such slave was named Mary. No, I know! Elizabeth, progressives like you. Now, Mary had been a slave, but now had gained her freedom, and so Elizabeth helped her to actually become educated and to become a missionary over in Africa for a little while. When Mary returned to the United States and returned to Richmond, one of the laws said that she could not come back, so they arrested her. They kept her in jail for 10 days before Elizabeth went and gave her bail. And the reason for that is because they wanted to sort of make this air of mystery, like that they didn't have a relationship. Because soon after that, Mary started to work for Jefferson Davis's wife. And I'll tell you more in the next round.
Ooh, intrigue. Let's see. Charlie, what do you think of Gina's first round story?
Well, I mean, like it sounded plausible, but there's a connection here. Gina just talked about lining up Alan's dates, and then she starts a story with the name of Alan's wife as the main character. It just I see where she's pulling all the threads from, and so like I gotta think she's lying.
Are you Carlosing me, saying I'm Kaiser Sozeking this?
Exactly. Just pulling it from out of the
Got it.
Gina, if he accuses you of having pretzel rods in front of you, then he's definitely going all Carlos on us.
All Carlos all the time. There you go.
Alan, what do you think of Gina's story?
That's one of the few facts that I got out of the story is that her main character is named after my wife. So yes, very good catching that, Charlie. Yes, Elizabeth Van Loo, She is the wolf in sheep's clothing, and then it devolves into a typical Gina story where someone's dating someone else.
Yeah, well, it's not.
All right. Well, Alan, we're going to keep you up on screen, and we're going to have Adam kick us into round 2.
Round 2, did you say?
Yes.
Round 2.
So now, Alan, as you know, round 2, we are reducing the number of seconds available, the time allotted for your stories from 75 seconds down to 60 seconds for this round. So when you hear the boom and see the clock come up, you can begin your round number 2.
All right. Well, once the sheep landed in Europe back in 6000 BC, their popularity as livestock began to spread. And between 4000 and 6000 BC, domesticated sheep had made its way all the way to Scandinavia. However, by 1000 BC, England and Spain were known as the primary producers of wool in Europe. Sheep were an important part of both Greek and Roman cultures, and it was quite likely that the spread of the Roman Empire over parts of Europe were only reinforced through the importance of keeping sheep for wool. Now, there is archaeological evidence that shows that Romans had a large wool processing factory in Winchester, England, around 50 BC, as popular wool was made among people in Europe. Fine-wooled sheep did not really appear in that part of the world until Spain began to import ancestors of the merino sheep from Morocco.
Ooh. All right. Charlie, what do you think of Alan's story, second round?
So is Alan's story just the history of wool? Like I don't understand. Is it just I'm just gonna say a whole bunch of stuff about sheep and that's it. I do like how parts of Alan's story back up my story, because both Romans and the Greeks both had big parts of Cyprus as part of their history, is important parts of their history. So it's really it's good. I like that Alan story, and even if he's lying, it's helping me. So I'm really good.
All right, and Gina, what's your take on Alan's wool?
Well, in Virginia, there are a lot of lakes, and around lakes, there are a lot of cypress trees. So Alan is 100% helping my story as well. So like he's slaying it right now.
Okay, all right. Well, Gina, we're gonna
threw me. It's just like, did it not throw your ears when he goes, and then the Romans, they had this big factory in Winchester, England, and you're like, what? It threw me. I did not expect that. I know that they had
my favorite part was that the sheep landed in Europe. I mean, like, where they parachuted in. Like, I don't understand why.
That's where that phrase comes from, when sheep fly.
Well, if anyone has ever seen a Monty Python movie, they use catapults. So,
yes, that's exactly.
Yeah. Gina, we're going to keep you up on screen, and we're going to have you begin your round number 2 when you see the clock and you hear the boom. Please tell us your second round.
Thank you, you silly thing. Okay, so we are going to start. Are we going to? Oh, yes. Okay. So, Mary, like when she comes home, she has now learned some new stuff, because the prison that she was in was called Libby Prison, and it was actually in the basis of the Confederate headquarters. Kind of like there was a Confederate White House and a Confederate headquarters at a tobacco factory, and right underneath that was a prison. Underneath that was where Elizabeth and 12 of her cohorts had built tunnels to help Union soldiers escape. And so Mary became part of that particular thing. So she was the seamstress for Jefferson Davis's wife, I think it was Verena. And what she would do is she would help, and then the tobacco place was very close to the Confederate White House, and they would have secret back and forth things that Mary was but she had a photographic memory, so she could look at documents, rewrite them completely verbatim, and then sew them into dresses and have them sent out to different seamstresses that were Union seamstresses, where some of those spy notes would be picked up and given to Union soldiers, or Union, not the soldiers, the guys in charge, the general people.
Okay, all right. Alan, what do you think of Gina's second round?
Well, this is fun because she's got a character in here named Mary, and we all know that Mary had a little lamb, and that has to do with wool. So Gina clearly wanted to make something up, and she was like, wouldn't it be fun if this all took place during the Confederacy, during the Civil War?
Okay,
And
Alan. Last line of my story. Joke done.
Sorry. Sorry.
Thanks,
All right.
Alan.
Spoiler alert.
Nailed it. He nailed it.
Charlie, let's bring you up, Charlie. And
I mean, I don't know how to follow that too much, but yeah, like I like now. Here's the problem: the historical information that Gina just said does seem very familiar, but it seems familiar to me from the movie Abraham Lincoln Vampire Killer or Hunter or something like that, right? So like I don't know. I'm on the fence with Gina right now. Although I do see her wanting to use the pun so badly that she invents an entire thing around it. Just
yes, indeed.
I
All
wouldn't
right.
do something like that at all, ever.
never.
Charlie, I think there's one thing that we could say is that, with the officers that she mentioned in their clothing, they could just look for the Union label. So, Charlie, we're going to keep you up on.
Oh man. Okay.
We're going to keep you up on. We're going to keep you up on screen, and Charlie, have you tell us your second round of your story, please.
Okay, when he got back, Klaus, as he describes it, says that the game just sort of created itself. He added different biomes from Cyprus on the board, and he also added more things like brick and timber and wool. Okay, and then one more thing to honor the longest road in Cyprus, called the Nicosia Limassol Highway. He made that one of the bonus goals of the game. His game was, he used to call the Settlers of Cyprus and the areas nearby, but that he actually shortened to the Settlers of Catan. Okay, he then printed the game himself and started taking it to gaming conventions. It was picked up by somebody and then became a huge hit, ushering in what some people call the golden age of board gaming.
Wow. All right. Well, Gina, we're going to bring you up first. And I don't know if Charlie's telling the truth or not, but I will give him, we don't have points in this game, but I'm giving him points on my scorecard simply for his pronunciation. Well done on that, Charlie. Gina, you had your hand up. Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so Ian is getting real out there. I mean, that is like, I missed the small chunk of your story, Charlie. What did you say the name of the game just yet?
Yeah, Settlers of Catan.
Settlers of Catan. Okay, that's where I missed that part. For some reason, I thought they were praising Cyprus, but they were from Catan. But that was the name of the game. Thank you. I need a little more time to think. Alan, I'm going to throw it to you, man.
Okay.
Well, great point. Look, Charlie knows a lot about board games, and the Settlers of Catan it's a cross popularity game featured in 30 Rock and inspired fake games like the Cones of Dunshire. And Charlie pretty much knows this. So he's like, I know more about board games than any of these people, so I'm going to make up facts about Settlers of Catan, and I'm going to say that this has to do with our topic today. So this is clearly the bluff.
All right. Good accusation. I love it. Let's see. Gina, we're going to move now to Adam bringing up round number 3.
Round 3. Any second now. Round 3.
All right.
I love that Adam seems like he's surprised.
What? Is there a news update?
What's that?
There is a news update.
What's going on?
What's going on? What isn't going on? I gotta say, we got. Let's see here. I just want to point out that we are. This is happening right now over the heads of the people bringing you this show. Should any one of them leave the show unexpectedly, this is why. And this is also why Gina was distracted from Charlie's story.
Okay.
So,
may I add to that? I have some information about Hurricane Ian. It's been downgraded to a Category 2.
Yes! I have some more information. About an hour ago, we got this just in that it was downgraded to a category 3. So this is only good news going forward because I got
I actually have a news alert too. This just in. It's now wanting to be known as Ian, not Ian.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, only on History Blush would you get a breaking news, inside breaking news, inside breaking news, inside breaking news. Well done all. So, with that, we are going to move now to our concluding round number 3, where we have reduced from 75 seconds down to 60 seconds, and now we're down to 45 seconds in this final round, third and final round. And to start us off in this third and final round, I'm going to ask Gina to come up and give us the conclusion of her wolf in sheep's clothing story.
Wonderful. Okay. There it is. All right. So Mary, now she got really good at this. She was she never ever went by the same name. So she was known as Mary Bowser. That was her married name, but she changed her name every time she went to someplace else except work. And every time she spoke, she helped educate free slaves. And she did things like she would spy on rebel Senate meetings that were in secret sessions. She helped catch Confederate contraband. She aided Union prisoners under the tunnel. She met with Provost Marshall. I don't know what that means or why it's important, but that's what she did. And she was also a part of some of the secret societies. Anyway, there were 12 of them all together. And in order to keep people from realizing that they were slaves, not only with disguises and things, they also pretended like they were stupid. That's all a woman had to do back then to keep a man from being suspicious.
Ooh.
I don't know. Anyway, so dear Mary, she ended up riding out the war. It was found that she might not have ever been a slave to begin with. That might have all been a ruse as well. So I just wanted to tell you because I think it's
let's see. Alan, what do you think of Gina's?
How are you going to work in Mary Had a Little Lamb if you went 30 seconds over time, Gina?
I was trying to talk out loud until I came up with another joke, Alan. It just didn't happen. I was going for a rhyme in my head. I was like, it'll come. I trust that 100% of the time, but it only happens like 90% of the time.
I think she was going to go for Mary Had a Lot of Time. That's the line that got cut out of that.
Had a lot of time.
All
right. Yeah, I think there's validity in Gina's story, and that's why she went over time, because she actually had to incorporate all the facts into her wrap up there. So
I missed the whole freaking page. So
And Charlie, let's get Charlie up here. Charlie, what do you think of Gina's?
Well, it depends. Can we see a viewpoint of Gina's room? And is there like a Mario statue anywhere? Because Mary Bowser just came out of nowhere. So we're gonna wonder how that goes. See, yeah, exactly. Like so.
All right. So one of her nicknames was Princess Peach. Whatever.
The Wolf Peach.
Oh,
wait,
it
that
makes
was my
the
last
sound and
story.
everything. Oh, that's great.
If you put Alan above me, I'll jump in.
All right, we're going to get Charlie back on screen. Charlie, we're going to ask you to conclude your story in your round 3 when you see the clock and hear the gong. Go ahead.
Yeah, so Settlers of Catan. I mean, like the first thing you think of when you think of wool is you think of sheep, which everybody incorrectly calls the wool part of Settlers of Catan. I mean, like, I don't know what else to say. I do know that there were also many commercial spin-offs because it's such a successful game. There's Caravans of Catan. There's Kids Catan, and the more interesting one is Lord of the Rings Catan, the Battle of Dragorlad, where you play as the different, like you could be elves or hobbits, and then at certain moments the orc army comes in and attacks everybody.
Wow. All right. Okay. Gina, as Alan pointed out earlier, Charlie's just bombarding us with facts of games that we may or may not know because he knows. So what's your take on that?
I have a question before I answer, please.
Yes.
To clarify the rules. Will we be getting another round to say who we think it is at the end to wrap up, or will this be my last? Okay,
Yes.
then yes. Then Charlie is lying.
We prefer the term bluffing.
Yes.
Lying is cruel.
Bluffing, lying, snowing us, whatever you want to call it, pulling the wool over our eyes, all of those things.
All right, and Alan, what do you think of Charlie's second round story?
Same difference. Look, I think it would be great if there was a Lord of the Rings Settlers of Catan, but since he's bluffing, then it doesn't exist. However, I think he and our friend Simon should team up and make that one up, and we could all play it together.
All right. And once again, we don't have points here, but I am going to give on my card, I'm going to give Charlie some points because he had a ton of alliteration in there. So points to him for that. Alan, we are going to bring you back up and have you conclude your third round story now, please.
Earlier this evening, you guys mentioned Virginia multiple times. Well, guess what? Sheep did not arrive in North America until they came to Virginia in 1607. And unfortunately for these sheep, they were all eaten due to a famine. But the next sheep to arrive were 2 years later, 1609. They fared better, and by the 1640s, there were over 100,000 sheep in the 13 British colonies. By the 1800s, sheep began to move eastward. Pardon me, they can't go further east. They're going to go westward, along with the immigrants and others determined to make a home for themselves in the western parts of North America. And by the 1940s, there were upwards of 55 million sheep in the United States, and these numbers declined later.
Okay. All right. Well, Charlie, what do you think of Alan's conclusion there?
I'm still not completely sure what the fact is that Alan is like suggesting. I mean, like, I feel like Alan is suggesting sheep exist, and I mean, if that's what he's saying, then I agree. Sheep are real.
Yes,
sheep are real. Sheep are real,
Yes,
and apparently
sheep are real.
They are real, and apparently they've been getting busy during those years because they multiplied fast. So, Gina, what do you think?
Declining, so they're getting less.
You can debate the details. I have a lot of details in these presentations. You can't deny that.
I can debate one detail. I don't believe that in 1609 the sheep were famined. I believe that the sheep were part of the solution to the famine. That's my theory.
Yes, they were
and
eaten
that's why they're no longer with us.
They were eaten due to famine. They were eaten due to famine. Yes.
All right. Well,
does that make that Jamestown, or does that make that Roanoke?
Oh.
Say that again, Charlie.
Roanoke.
Is that Jamestown or Roanoke?
Yeah.
All I know it was Virginia in 1607.
All right. Well.
And there's something to Virginian wool, maybe, I don't know. So we now have heard
who's afraid of Virginian wool?
Oh God.
Oh, God.
We have heard all three of our contestants go through all three of their rounds and tell us their stories. Charlie with his Klaus Tuber board game story, Gina with the Wolf in Sheep's Clothing, and Mary Bowser, the spy of many names in the Civil War, and Alan with his pile of wool sheep and his huge pile of facts about sheep throughout history. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you are watching, we are going to ask you to put up in your comments who you think, which one of our panelists is the bluff. I'm going to now poll our panel to see which of them that they think is the bluff. So I'll begin with Charlie. Charlie, which panelist might be bluffing?
I mean, I think by default it has to be Gina because Alan is just saying random stuff. So I'm going to go with Gina and her bunker under the bunker of the Confederacy.
Okay. All right. And Alan, what do you think, Alan?
Gina had too many facts to have been false, so I'm saying that it's Charlie and him trying to zig and zag around his expertise of gaming. There is no such origin behind the settlers of Catan.
Okay. Gina, why don't you come up and tell us who you think might be the bluff?
Well, I just think it's funny that Charlie's defense was he's just saying things. That's what the show is. Like that's literally what the show. But okay, so rather than pointing the finger at one of my cohorts, I'd rather just give you a quote from Mary, if you'd like to end the day. A tisket, a tasket, a green and yellow basket. Sent a letter to my baby in the Union Army. On my way, I passed it. That's by Mary. And it was a quote that she did when she was spying. And she also made a whole song about it, about a little. And that's the last verse, in case you were wondering.
So
I might
you
change my
officially have
vote.
no vote. You don't think anyone is bluffing?
No, do I? It's all me. Of course it's me. No, I think that while Alan was saying words, his words didn't throw me. While Charlie was saying words, I didn't hear any mention of ninjas, and I think that's the sword that they use, and so I feel cheated, whether it's a real game or not. So Charlie is like
Charlie's above. Okay, so we have
or it could be me.
we have two votes for Charlie, one for Gina, and I don't get a vote, but if I had to, I would say I've never seen a wool toga. So Alan's reference of the Romans using them, I'm going to vote for Alan myself. But the one who does know is Adam. Adam is the only one who knows besides the actual bluffer themselves. So
That's right.
I'm going to step out of the stream here, and would you please divulge who actually was the bluff?
I would be happy to, my good host Chris. Tonight, we have 3 possible bluffs out of the stories. It could have been Gina. It could have been Charlie. It could also have been Alan. Well, I and I alone know. I will reveal now your bluff. Tonight, the whole time pulling the wool over your eyes was Charlie. There it is.
Oh, come on. I spent so much time coming up with an anagram, Cyprus and the areas nearby was Catan. I was
You are
Good.
such
That's
a
good.
jerk.
Well done, Charlie. Well done. We did have actually Gina and Alan declare that they thought that you were the bluff. So
I will just say, Charlie, it really had nothing to do with anything you did or didn't say. It could have been either one of you. Like for me, like both of the stories did not sound plausible. So.
Well, I will say there's egg on my face because I thought it was Alan. So Charlie, well done. You fooled me. And we'll thank our audience once again. But first and foremost, we thank Adam for doing another knockout job on tech for us, especially in the situation we have with Ian right outside your door. I want to thank all of our panelists, Gina, Charlie, and Alan. Thanks so much for once again coming on the show. And ladies and gentlemen, wraps up tonight's episode of the wool-inspired History Bluffs. And we will see you again on another show. I'm going to turn it back over to Adam.
Indeed. We will be here next time, and we hope you do too. See you then.